Okay, today we're going to be installing the Diode Dynamic ditch lights, 3-inch, on my 2023 Nissan Frontier. I went with the Nismo, A-pillar brackets. Just figured they would be the perfect fit for the Frontier. So that's what they're made for. I've just seen on other forums that some brackets from other companies aren't fitting just right, and so I'm hoping this will be a good fit. It comes with the A-pillar brackets and then some bolts. Then here with the Diode Dynamic lights, I've already opened this and kind of assembled it somewhat, so I've got two of the lights with the mounting brackets, and I bought some covers just so that they'll get hot damage, and also bought yellow covers. It's not going to be as great as amber lights, but just the covers might give the same effect when I want an amber look. This comes with pigtailed wire ends, but I just ordered some wires off of Amazon because I'm going to hook it up to my Trigger 4, and I installed a splitter here so that they can just both be hooked up to the same trigger switch. And so I've already wired all these wires how they need to be, so that there's a male and a female end, and then they both go into this splitter, which will then go into the Trigger 4. And so we'll go and get started on this install. Okay, we're going to need a 12mm socket to take off the hinges there, the bolts on the hinges, excuse me. And so there's two there, two on this side. Would advise doing it one at a time. The struts should hold up the hood while you're installing this. And yeah. Okay, with this bracket, you just unscrew these bolts and then just lay the bracket just right on top, or I guess underneath what holds the hood up, and then just bolt it back on. There's a little bit of play with it. You can move it back and forth. This strut does help support the hood while you're installing this. I'm having to go back and redo this. I actually installed it incorrectly. I tried to wedge it in between the bracket and the hood, and then when I got done and looked at the gap in between the hood and the truck, it was just a little off, and it was off by that much. And then I realized, oh, I could put it, just slip it over right here, and then that would keep the hood where it's at and still position the light nicely. I didn't end up needing all the hardware. They give you some nuts and bolts, but you don't need it because you can just use what comes on the truck. I feel like I say this in a lot of my videos, get a metal tray to hold your stuff. I just dropped one of these bolts to hold the hood up down into the fender well. And so I had to unscrew some stuff to get it back. And I went to Harbor Freight and bought one, and then just decided not to use it on this install. I'll put a link to one in the description of the video, but use a metal bowl when working under the hood so that you can keep all your stuff in a place that won't allow you to drop it down here. All right, this is the bracket after it's installed. You know, the curvature of the bracket and the design is really nice. It doesn't really come into contact with underneath the hood. There is a piece of foam under there actually already installed. I'm sure it's just to help with debris getting under the hood, but it sits nicely. The bracket sits nicely on that foam, so that should help with any rattling or noise that may come from this just a little movement. Okay, I've got one light mounted, not wired up yet, but I do like the size. I thought they were going to be a little too small, but really like the size of it. You can kind of just see how it positions on the bracket. I like how this is flush on this end and then sticks out and almost covers the whole platform of the bracket. I thought about centering it, but then this would overhang a little bit, and so I just like it being flush there. All right, I've got them both mounted and time to wire them up. Okay, I've got it all wired up. I'm running the wire down here and then zip tying it just to that main cable there. And then I've got it all wrapped up, the extra wire I don't need, and then hooked up into one of the 10 amp fuses for the Trigger 4. I'm sure there's other videos on YouTube of how to send it through the firewall with a switch, but I'm not using that. just use my trigger 4. I'm gonna wait till it gets dark to do a test and see how bright they are. And then also, I haven't tightened them fully on the brackets, just because once I get the lights on and the sun goes down, I can then point them so that I get my dark spots lit up more. And so that'll be next.